Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I am going to be going over the first half of the early access patch notes for Dungeonborne. So just to clarify, the game has not launched yet. It is launching in 2 days, but this is the first half of the patch notes, so everything that's going to be different for when it does launch. So, maps. Adjusted monster placement in Clozo Castle and Sinner's End, reducing monster density in some areas. Optimized player spawn points to avoid issues where players are spawning too close to each other. Yeah, that's very good. A lot of the time, especially on Clozo Castle, I found, there are a lot of times where you spawn in, and then there's just a pyromancer already charging a fireball ready to throw it at you. So that was definitely a huge problem, and I'm glad that's been addressed, and hopefully that all works properly. But that definitely sounds like a very, very good fix, because sometimes your lobbies wouldn't even be completely full, and you'd still spawn directly next to each other. One was like on the tower rampart in Clozo Castle, and the other one's kind of like by the tents where the werewolf sometimes spawns. And there were 2 spawns in either of those places that were very, very close to each other, which can lead to some like super early on fights in your games, which you don't really want to have going into every single game. So that's a very, very good change. Improved terrain collision in certain areas in Clozo Castle and Sinner's End to prevent characters from getting stuck. Interacting with shrines now displays their effects and types. That's wonderful. That's going to be super, super handy. Just very small kind of quality of life thing there, but that's going to be great because I have no idea what the things did. I know that there was a resurrection stone that you could get from praying at a shrine or interacting with a shrine or whatever, but I didn't know what the shrines actually did until I interacted with them, and then I'd be like, oh, that's giving me a shield, or oh, that's regenerating my health and stuff like that. So it's now going to kind of just show you and tell you what it does, which is very, very nice. I think after you use it, I'm not too sure if it's going to tell you before you use it. Maybe there'll be some symbol there or not, but either way, this is going to be a very good change. Added a countdown reminder for the end of the Vengeful Monarch boss fight. Okay, optimize the tutorial dungeon's flow and guidance prompts. I never played this, so I'm not too sure how that actually was, because I had already played the betas from before, so I didn't need to play the tutorial for this beta as well, but that is nice that that's there and that it's getting attention. That's good for newer players. Item balance. Slightly increase the stat values of equipment of magic rarity and above. Okay, so nice little, what I would imagine would be a damage buff for magic stuff. Enhance the effects of some item affixes, such as life recovered, on first opening of chests, and added elemental damage to attacks to make them more fun and valuable. Enhance the effects of some item affixes, such as life recovered. Okay, I understand. Just a kind of a buff to some elemental damage and certain item affixes there then. Camera and control. Improved first-person and third-person camera, character controls, and effects resulting in better hit detection for melee weapons. That's always good. Monsters. Improved monster attack patterns and AI behavior for ghost, werewolf, mimic, skeleton-type monsters, and goblin-type monsters. So that's good. Any additions or improvements we get to AI is going to be very, very good. The werewolf, and actually all of the bosses, I think, are very easily cheesable. I don't know if that's going to have changed, but that's interesting. I didn't find any issues with the ghost. I think maybe it, like, sometimes flew underneath a platform that you were actually above, and so it couldn't hit you. And for skeletons and goblins, I'm not too sure what was wrong with that. But, you know, improvements can't be bad, really, because they're improvements. Improved animations and audio effects for the Vengeful Monarch. Others. New languages, Russian, Korean, German. So for any Russian, Korean, or German people out there, you'll be able to have that in your native language, I would imagine. Adjusted the Mithril Order's reputation rewards and removed the respawn ability. Adjusted the Mithril Order's reputation rewards and removed the respawn ability. Okay. Added an allow others to inspect your inventory option. Turning this off means that other players can't view your character's inventory in the waiting room. Well, that's kind of interesting. I like, in the waiting room, you were able to get a lot of information on the other characters, judging by what they were using. So if you're maybe not so familiar with the game and you don't know if someone's playing as like a pyromancer, a druid, or a priest or something like that, you could interact with them and then be able to see their abilities, and then that would give you an idea of what they're using. And then you'd know kind of what classes you were going into a match with. But this is a very fair change. It was probably an unintended feature, so they're just removing what was probably an unintended feature. Added a buy now price option for auction listings. Buy now. Oh yeah, that's very nice. That's very, very, very nice. I wasn't using the kind of auction section of the trading tab quite a lot because of the waiting times, and I guess this is going to remove the waiting times entirely, if I'm understanding this right, so that's going to be very good. Added a challenger mode option in adventure maps, allowing solo players to be matched against trios. Interesting. Interesting, okay. But you can choose if you want to do that or not, so there's no downside to that. And if you're like an absolute pro that wants to go against teams of 3, then you can probably do that and just take all of their stuff. And if there's 3 of them, you'd think they'd have more stuff. So that's going to be great for anyone that's like really, really good at the game that wants to challenge themselves and stuff like that. That actually sounds quite cool to me as well. Updated the merchant to sell identified and unidentified equipment, heirloom materials, and more, and adjusted her restock time. I'm not too sure what identified and unidentified equipment means, but if you can sell heirloom materials and more, that's going to be cool, because sometimes you'll get like a healing potion off of someone or something, and maybe you've got too many healing potions in your inventory and you can't do anything with them, and so you just sell them to the merchant for 0 because you can't do anything else with them. So even if you got a little bit of gold from that, that would be very, very cool. So hopefully that is in there with this change here. Added a tutorial and prompts for the heirloom system, which is fair because it is quite complicated. Well, it's not obvious anyway. Adjusted the character appearance customization process and UI. Okay, I mean, yeah, I thought it was like a very okay character creation, but I guess we're going to see how this works when the game launches, and optimized in-game UI and some interactions. Alright, the adventure begins in 2 days, early access launch July 18th or 19th, depending on whatever time zone you're in. So, that's very, very interesting. Lots of, like, I think this is very, very good changes for the most part. I don't think there's anything bad here. The only one I'll kind of miss a little bit is going to be the inventory one. I'm trying to look for it. Where is it? Here. So added and allow others to inspect your inventory. This, I think, is good. I think I am just going to miss it a little bit. I'd say it was just unintended, and it was a great way to gather information, even if you used it to kind of see what the others had, to see if they have like full gold stuff or if they're just like gray and green stuff and things like that. It was a really good way to kind of like scout out the lobby that you were in. And now you're just not going to be able to do that anymore unless you can recognize the cosmetics that someone's wearing. So you'll be able to recognize the druid from their, clothing and their staff, and you'll be able to see if it's like a gray staff or like a purple staff by the look of the staff, right? So that's going to be a little bit harder to do for most people. It's obviously a lot easier to just look in someone's inventory and then you'll see what they're using. But, I mean, I think this is a fairly good change. I mean, you're going to be able to... I mean, it's not really going to make much of a difference to the game, really. It's just a kind of... I think it's probably just a fix to something that was unintended, which I would say is very, very fair. But yeah, so again, this is just the first half of the Day Zero patch notes, and I believe we're going to be getting... Yeah, we're going to be getting the second half in tomorrow's patch notes. We're still finalizing some tweaks on class balance and weapon balance, which will be revealed tomorrow. For the second half of the patch notes. So I'd also imagine then that in tomorrow's patch notes, we're going to be getting all of the new like class abilities, which is very exciting. Like 5, I think, of the classes have a new ability. I think the Death Knight and the Priest are both one of them. And I think you're going to be able to switch it out with one of the other abilities. So the Priest has a heal and an immortality shield. And what I think is going to happen is they're going to have a new ability that you can switch out for one of the others. And that's going to be like that for, I think, 5 of the other classes as well. So that's going to be very, very exciting. I was kind of expecting them to kind of do the more boring stuff today, and then for them to release the more exciting stuff tomorrow, because obviously that would generate more hype and get people to read the patch notes tomorrow as well, so that makes sense. But yeah, there you go. I'll probably make a video on that as well, and looking at all of the different classes and what new abilities were added is definitely going to be very, very interesting. So there you go. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Farewell.